Alright, what's up guys? I'm going over some more Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm basically going to be covering this game till it comes out because I'm very interested in learning as much as I can about it before it comes out because I'm going to play it. I haven't played the first one. I watched some gameplay of the first one. I'm like, wow, I never heard of this game. Up until like a couple months ago, I never heard of Dragon's Dogma. I think I heard it came out around the same time Skyrim came out. Just to see, let's see, Skyrim release date was 2011, and let's see, Dragon's Dogma release date was 2012. So this came out after. This came out May 22nd, 2012. And Skyrim came out November. So Skyrim came out about 6 months before, half a year before. Basically what I was trying to say was Skyrim and this game came out around the same time. And because Skyrim is much bigger, it was huge at the time. I know Skyrim is huge. Oblivion was big, right? And then Skyrim was like Oblivion on crack, basically. And everyone who was playing that genre of game, all they was playing was Skyrim. So when this game, Dragon's Dogma, came out, I never even heard of it. Also, in 2011, wasn't really following gaming stuff like that, online like that. So I didn't know about all the gaming channels like how YouTube is right now. YouTube wasn't crazy like that back in 2011. Like people wasn't going to YouTube as heavy as they do now. But back then when Dragon's Dogma came out, it was like a silent release because I didn't hear nothing about it. And looking back on it now, well, looking at the game now, and I look back at Dragon's Dogma, how the gameplay looks, I'm like, damn, this game looks like something I definitely would have played. But I was probably in May, even though May is like 5-6 months later from November 11th, right? I was probably still playing Skyrim around that time because Skyrim was this, you know, you just go and just explore, you know? So it kind of sucks that I didn't get to play Dragon's Dogma. Sure, I could play it technically now. It's on PC. I could play it now, and I have about 2 months before the second one come out. So I could probably play it and maybe even end it between now and the second one. But chances are I'm probably not going to do that. There's other games I'm trying to finish, but just bringing that up. Dragon's Dogma, it looks like the first one was great, but I think Skyrim just overshadowed it. But anyway, the reason why we're here, no, that's not the video. This guy, he's streaming it right now. I was just watching him play. He's streaming the game right now. But where is it? Okay. So here's the video. I want to see what Hideko Itsuno has to say. He has a video on IGN, how Dragon's Dogma 2 realizes the vision of the original game. So, let's see.
Capcom Dragon's Dogma 2 ディレクターのいつ
Okay, he's speaking in what is he, Japanese, right? He's speaking in Japanese. So I'm gonna have to read this out.
の秀明です。今日よろしくお願いします。
So he's the director of Dragon's Dogma 2. How Dragon's Dogma 2 realizes its
ドラゴン
director.
ドグマ2はですね、11年
Dragon's Dogma 2 is the game following the first Dragon's Dogma from 11
前
years
に出た、
ago.
ドラゴンドグマ1作目からの、ナンバリングで言うと2作目ですね。間に
Other games did come out in that period, but this is the second
ナンバリン
numbered
グとしては2作
title.
目のゲームとなります。
When he say other games, do he mean like other games like Skyrim? Or do he mean like other games from Capcom?
オープンワールドの
We
中
wanted to make this an action-packed experience that takes place in an
で、
open
ア
world.
クションをめちゃくちゃやるぜっていう、つもりで
I'm not gonna lie, I was watching the combat in Dragon's Dogma, the first one, and I didn't realize the combat was like that. Like, dude was jumping on top of a dragon, holding on with one hand, and then slicing away at it with like a dagger in the other hand. And he's like jumping, doing flips. And I'm like, I didn't know this game was that agile. Back in 2011? That's how y'all was giving it up? I'm impressed. I'm mad I didn't hear about it.
オープンワールドアクションというふうにジャンル名を
And also, it was an Xbox. I think it was like an Xbox exclusive. I think I could be wrong, but I don't remember. 2011. Did I even have an Xbox? I had an Xbox 360, I believe. I was living in Michigan around that time, and it got stolen. Someone broke into my place, and they stole my Xbox. They stole my Guitar Hero, like with the guitar and everything. They stole a bunch of crap, bro. And that was the last time I had an Xbox, when they stole that. That was the last time I had an Xbox. That was around 2010-ish when my Xbox got stolen. So when this game came out in 2012 of May, I was probably playing, I think I had a PlayStation 3 at the time. And yeah, that's what I've been playing ever since.
銘打って出したゲームになります。アクションロード
Anyway,
ア
so
クションをめ
continue.
ちゃくちゃやるぜっていうつもりで、オープンワールドアクションという
So we're labeling it as just that, an open world action game.
ジャ
Okay.
ンル名を銘打って出したゲームになります。
I'm not gonna lie, this right here looks fire. This
オープンワール
character
ドアクショ
with
ン
the
という
with the
ジャンル
lion
名を銘打
face,
って出し
this looks fire. I don't know what that's about. Is that like a race, like a Leo race or something? Like I don't know, but it looks fire.
たゲームになります。アクションロールプレイン
It's
グ
an
であ
action
り
RPG
オー
and
プ
an
ンワール
open
ドであ
world
り
game.
で、カプコン
It's a game by Capcom and primarily the Devil May Cry team. So a lot of work has been put into the action mechanics. I'm not gonna lie, that got me pretty excited because I didn't know what to expect gameplay wise, but after seeing how the first one looked and how like it's like very, very like the action in the game is like it's not what I expected. I was expecting something a lot more slow, not necessarily turn-based, but just something a lot more slower. But just seeing how loose the character was, jumping, grabbing on big creatures and climbing it, and then attacking it while it's on top of it and doing flips and all that. And now I'm hearing Devil May Cry team is a part of this. I'm like, wow, I can only imagine what they might end up doing for this next one.
デビルメイクライチーム中心で作られた、
Alright, it's a game by Capcom. Blah, blah. A lot of work has been put into the action
アクシ
mechanics.
ョン部分というのもすごく力を入れて作っています。で何より
What's most notable of all is
一人用のオンライン
that it's a single player online
パーティーアクションゲーム
party-based
という
action
ところ
game.
ですね。
I'm not gonna lie, that's the only thing that kind of threw me off a little bit because I'm thinking when I first started watching gameplay, I see you have a party. It's you and like 2 or 3 other characters running around you, kind of like Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 16 as well, I guess, because Final Fantasy 16 you do have your other teammates, but in Final Fantasy 15 you really felt more of their presence, and I think a lot of it had to do with I think you was able to tell them what to do. You was able to tell them what moves to do. In Final Fantasy 15, when you're running, in Final Fantasy 16, the newest one, when you're running around with your little squad, I think the only person you can actually, well, not person, but the only party member you can actually, as far as like telling them, hey, I want you to do this, I think it's just the dog that runs with you. I don't think you can control Jill or anybody else that's end up being on your party at the moment. But in this game, I think you're able to somehow direct what your party members do. But I kind of wish that they had an online element where you can have friends. If you have friends that play this game, you know, they can join with you and they can move around with you. Or even if it's not friends, it could be randoms. Even though you'd rather play with people you know than play with randoms, because most randoms they don't have a microphone or they just don't want to cooperate, you know. But still, I thought that would have been a dope option. But you know, they doing it where you have a party, but I don't know if you can control them. But I don't know. Let me hear more.
一人でプレイするんだ
Even
け
though
ど
you
も
play it on
多人
your
数で
own,
プレ
you
イ
feel
す
the
るような
enjoyment of
楽しさ
playing
が
as a
味わえる。
group.
具体的には
Specifically, you have your character, the protagonist, and your pawn, a follower that accompanies you. You create these on your own, then go online to borrow 2 more pawns created by other players.
そのキャラクターと
Wait, so there's a share system. There's like an online sharing system. Wait, so what does he mean by borrow 2 more pawns created by other players? Does he mean like the character that you actually create, that you play as? Or is he saying that if I create a character, my main character, because he's saying that's the protagonist and your pawn, does that mean that I can allow, or maybe I don't have control over allowing, people would just have access to the character that I create, and then they can have that character join their party in their own game with or without me knowing? Is that what he means? Is it like a with or without me knowing? Or do I have to basically give the okay? Or is it anything of what I'm saying at all? Like, is it really my character that I created? And would it have whatever abilities that I have at the moment that they decide to borrow? Like whatever abilities that I acquired up until that point that they decided to, all right, let me borrow this person's pawn. And then however strong I am in my game, in my world, will that be transferred over into their world? Even if that strength is much stronger than their current level. Like let's say I'm like level 50 and somebody brand new plays the game. It's like, yo, bro, I want to borrow your pawn. I'm just starting the game. I want to borrow your pawn and have it join my party base. I'm like, all right, bet. And can they borrow my 50 level pawn? My 50 level protagonist that I created and throw it in their world while they're like level 5? And then my pawn is like basically bodying everybody that they run across to help them level up faster? Is that what they're saying? I know I just said a lot, but that would be kind of interesting if that's what he's saying.
あとネットワーク上の誰かが作ったそのポーンですね。そのポーンを
So it's a 4-player party RPG with these 3 AI pawns and your
3人
characters.
と自分でパーティーする RPG になっています。
So it's a 4-player RPG. So you and 3
もとも
other.
とロールプレイングゲーム
I've always loved
大
role-playing
好き
games.
です。まあ大好きな
At
ん
the
だけ
same
ど
time, I found
コマンド式の戦
command-based
闘がめん
combat
どく
to
さ
be
い
such a
なとか
bother.
経験
Grinding
値
for
稼ぎがめんどく
experience
さいな
used
と
to
かでまあ当時
annoy me
昔思っ
too.
てですね。その時に
Street Fighter 2 was wildly popular at the time.
これアクション部分だけ
As
そうい
a
うファイター
student,
そう
I
ならへんか
wondered
な
if
って
just the action portion
思
of
ってた
these
り
games
そういう
would
気
be
持
like
ち
Street
が
Fighter
ま
2.
あ学生時代にあってまあ
It's funny how you mentioned Street Fighter 2. I mean, well, that is a Capcom game, but I'm just thinking because I know he was a part of making Rival Schools. And I don't know if you've seen in my last video, I showed you Rival Schools a little bit. And Rival Schools, that was a game that I used to play. I played Street Fighter 2 a lot as well. Way more than Rival Schools, but I played Rival Schools too. That was a fun game. I loved the music. It was clearly, I don't think it came out before. I think it may have came after Street Fighter. I'm not too sure. But it had some characters in Rival Schools that ended up being in a Street Fighter game. But yeah, Rival Schools was dope.
自分でゲーム作っていいよ
I wanted to make those 2 desires into a reality once I began making games. So that's one part of
で
it.
このまあがまあ実現したいなというところがまあ一つと。で、このゲームを
I started thinking about making the
考え
first
始めた
game
頃
in
っていうのは
around 2001 or 2002.
で、まあオ
It
ンラ
was
イン
just
の
as online games were starting to come out.
出始めた頃
Okay, he's talking about the
オンラインの
first
ゲームに
Dragon's
憧れがめ
Dogma.
ちゃくちゃあ
I
って
revered them and I had a
自分も触れる機
chance
会が
and I had chance to play
憧れがめちゃ
some
くちゃあって
myself.
で自分も触れる機会があって、
Okay.
夢の世界やと
It
思
was
って
like
た
a
んですけ
dream
ど
world, but they
意外
could
とめんど
also
く
be
せえなっていう
surprisingly frustrating.
時間も場所
These
も
were
選ばない
games
は
you
ずな
should
の
be
に
able to play anytime and
結局
anywhere.
友達同
Yet
士
I'd
で
have to gather
何時
with
スター
all of my
ト集まらなきゃ
friends
ダ
to
メだ
start
った
a
りとか
specific time,
トイレ
to
行
start
くの
at
も
a
はば
specific
かられ
time.
たりだとか
Or I might
そういう
feel
ふうになきゃダメだったりとか、トイレ
or I
行
might feel bad about leaving to use the bathroom during a session.
くのもはばかられたりだとか そういうふうに
So basically, she's saying that I want to be able to play the game when I'm ready to play the game and take a break when I'm ready to take a break, without inconveniencing other people. But I still want the benefits of playing with a team, playing with a party. So that's why these games are basically single player games, but with a party. And that's not bad. I don't have an issue with that. I only have an issue when the AI makes you feel like you're playing with AI. Now, if the AI is actually not, like, when I say smart, I mean like they're actually effective, and they don't get in the way, and they just feel natural, then I guess, I mean, you should be able to be fine playing with that actual live person. You see, so he says, so I found myself wanting to play online
いろいろがあっ
games
て、オンラインゲームで遊びたいんだけども、そういう面倒く
while
さい思
hoping
い
to
とか気
avoid
を
these
使ったり
annoying
とか
experiences
したくないな、
and to not
そ
have
れを
to
なんとかうまく面倒く
inconvenience
さい思い
other
とか気を
players.
使ったり
I
と
literally
か
just said that.
したくないな。それをなんとか
There
うま
was a
くする方
time
法
when
な
I
いか
came
なっ
up
ていう
with
アイデアを
ideas for how to
出し
make
てる
that
時期
work
が
somehow.
ありまして、
That's,
その
that's the
2つ
AI, bro. You gotta get the
まあ
AI
友
on
達と遊
point.
んでるような
It feels like
気分
playing with friends
遊べる
even
仕
when
組み
you're
と
alone.
RPG のアクション部分
And it's an
が
RPG with
バリバリ
action
のアクショ
that's
ンゲー
just
ム
as
並みに
fun
面
as
白い。
an
この
all-out
2つを RPG のアクション部
action
分が
game.
バリバリのアクションゲーム並みに面白い。この2つが
I'm proud of
まあ
those two
誇りに
things.
思えるところです。
Okay.
もともとドラゴンズ
Going back to when we made the
そうなんです
first
けど
Dragon's Dogma,
狭い範
I
囲でもい
wanted
い
to
か
create
らちゃんと
detailed
NPC を作り
NPCs
込みたい
even
と
if
いう
it
のが
was on a
あり
limited
ます。
scale.
まあ今回
We've ended up with a
とてつもない人数
ridiculous
になって
number
し
of
まいましたけども、
NPCs this time
とにかく
around,
その世界でこ
but
の
we wanted
キャ
characters
ラ
who
クター
live
が
in the
ちゃんと
world
目
and
的
act
を持って
according to
行
their
動し
own
て、
goals.
判断基
They
準
make
があって
decisions
独
for
自の判断を
themselves.
してその結果、
And the world
この
properly
NPC
reacts
が
to these
やった行動に対してちゃんと
reasoned
リアクション
NPC
がある世界にしようという
We put a lot
シス
of
テムを
work
考えて
into
作り
thinking
込ん
about
で
and creating this
いっ
kind
て
of
ますね。
system.
前作
In the first
で
game,
は
Affinity
プレイヤー
existed
と
only between the
NPC の
players and
交換
NPCs.
だけだったんですけど、今回は
But this game has it
NPC
between
同士の
NPCs as well.
好感度
He
で
said
あったり、
affinity? What is that? He said affinity. That's some way. That's the first time I heard that. Is that he made it sound like that's some type of like not software, but some type of like game mechanic. Is it like a game mechanic where it's like an AI? Is it like an AI based? Is it an AI based game mechanic? Based on the context of how he used it, it sounds like it may be like some kind of AI based game mechanic where the NPCs can respond to what other NPCs do in real time. It gives like a reasonable reaction. That's what it sounds like. I'm not gonna lie, speaking of game mechanics, the one game mechanic that I wish we can get in more games is the Nemesis system in Shadow of War. I don't know if anybody played that game that's watching, but that was one of the dopest game mechanics I've ever experienced. Where you can basically you could create your own rival in that game, and the more you interact with them, every time you interact with them, they might survive and come back stronger and even more well renowned. Like they could become higher in their ranks every time you meet them, to the point where they're just really, really powerful. And you may have met them as just some kind of street orc, and then after a couple of encounters, when you might finally run into them, and they're like a damn like lord of their gang, and they're like way stronger than you first met them, and they got a group that follows them, and they remember you, and they remember what you did to them the last time you fought them, and now they have new weaknesses and new fears based on how you fought them previously. Like if you burnt them in the past, they'll come back in your next encounter and they have like a fear of fire now because you scarred them. Like that was like a fire, no pun intended, but that was like a fire mechanic, bro. And Warner Brothers, I think Warner Brothers have the what do they call it, like the copyrights to that, or whatever you want to call it, and they're not doing nothing with it. They're just sitting on it, as far as I can tell. I haven't seen any other game after Shadow of War. That was the last one. Out of those two games, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, I haven't seen Warner Brothers do anything with that system, which is kind of like a shame, bro. They should throw that in every game that they make. and just bank off that. But anyway, the Affinity System, I'm curious about hearing more about that.
ではプレイヤーと
In the first game,
NPC の
Affinity existed only between the player
だけだっ
and
たんですけど、今
NPCs.
回は
But this game has it
NPC 同士
between
の
NPCs as well.
好感度であったり、NPC 同士
NPCs
の関係
also
性で
have
あったり
relationships with one another.
例えばまあ
Say an NPC takes a
NPC が
liking to the
プレイ
player.
ヤーに対して行為がある、同じように行
If
為がある
there's another
NPC
NPC
が
who
いたら、
feels the same way,
この2人って
that's a
同じ
situation where these two
人に行為
NPCs
がある
probably
からっ
won't
て
get
仲良く
along,
な
right?
る世界はあんまないじゃないですか。仲良くな
A
ったキ
character
ャ
who's close
ラ
to
ク
you
ターは
might
まあ
come
う
to
ち
your
の人に
house
来た
to
りするんで
play.
すけども、
But if they meet another
うち
character
に来
there
た時に
who's done the
そ
same
のキャラク
thing,
ター
a
同士が鉢合わ
fight
せしたり
might
する
break
と
out.
喧嘩になるかもしれませんね。
Okay.
で僕らとしては
It's a system that allows us to
やめて。
say, stop, don't fight over me.
僕のために喧嘩しないでって言いたいだけのために
So
作った
some
システムなん
jealousy
で、
that can be created within the game.
まあそんな風に
It
ならないよ
might
うに
be
皆さん気を
best
つけ
if
て
you
プレ
play
イして
while
いただ
trying
け
to
る
avoid that kind of
といいの
outcome.
かなと思っています。
I'll probably let that play out.
プレイヤーのね、やりたいこと
We
やっ
worked
たこ
hard
と
to
に対
create a
して
world that
ちゃん
reacts
と
in
納
a
得のい
believable
くリ
way
アクシ
to
ョンが
whatever
来る
actions
よ
the
うな
player
世界を
wants to
頑張
take.
って作りましたので、まあ、この世界で本気
It's
で
for people who want to
ごっ
seriously
こ遊びをしたい
pretend
人、
to be a part of that
ファンタ
world
ジー
or to
世界
experience a
異
new
世
life
界
in a
転生シミュレ
simulated
ーターやりたい
fantasy
人、
world.
あと、
While we did make a world
まあ
where
当
you
然
can't
アクション
survive
得意な
whether
人
or
苦手な
not
人
you
両
are
方
good
に
at
生き
action
る
games,
道があるような世界を作ったんですけども、もちろん
there is
アクシ
also
ョ
a
ンゲ
deep
ームを求
action
めてい
game
る人
awaiting
に対し
those
て
who are
は
seeking
奥深
one.
いアクション
Okay.
が用意していますので、まあ俺は腕っぷし
So
だけ
we
で
of
勝負す
course
るんだねってい
welcome
う人もも
those
ち
who
ろんお
want
待
to
ちしてお
simply
ります。
muscle their way
で、あ
through.
と
Also, if you don't know much about the
よく
game
わか
but
んな
want
い
to
けど
try it because you heard it was fun,
面白そうって聞いたからやってみますっていう人、多分ですけ
after
ど、
all
僕
the time
今
and
回
effort the
ポーンめ
whole
ちゃくちゃ、
team put into
まあ、
creating the
チーム
game's pawns,
全員そこにお金時間かけて作ってるので、横にいる
they
友
should
達
act
が
like a
このゲ
friend
ーム
who,
やったことあ
who
る友
sits
達が
beside you to
いいア
give
ドバイスを
advice
し
after
て
playing
くれ
through
る
the
よう
game
にポーンを作ってい
themselves.
ます。友達の作った
You'll
ポ
learn a
ー
lot
ン
from
がいろいろ
pawns
教えて
made
く
by
れる
your
と思うんです
friends.
そいつが先に
The
攻
pawns
略
will
して
teach you
る
what they learned from your
知
friends'
識
playthrough.
はポーンが
Really?
ちゃんと教えてくれる
How
ので、
so?
ポーンをちゃんと
Lean
後
on
にして
them
もら
and
え
you
れ
should be able to
ば、
play
実
through
は
the
そんなに
game
覚悟
even
な
if
くて
you
も
are
遊
not
べる
super
かも
committed.
と思っています。
That's interesting. So somehow he's saying that the pawns that you borrow from your friend's game, I wonder if it can only be from people you know or it can be from any random person. But like I was mentioning earlier about getting pawns from like a higher level, like if I had a level 50 and they have a level 5 character, but they borrow my level 50 pawn, is he saying that my level 50 pawn, when entered into his game, could bring whatever experience that he's learned into their game and somehow give them like what, a heads up or hints or teach them stuff? And how so? What does he mean by that? But I don't know, it sounds interesting. The Affinity System sounds like it's gonna be like their version of like the Nemesis system. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's their special gaming mechanic that's gonna help them be unique, I guess. So I'm curious. I'm curious to hear more about that. You know, let me know if you know what the Infinity System is. Let me know in the comment section if there's a video explaining it. I don't know if you can post it in there, but if you could put the title of it, let me know. I'm interested in diving a little bit deeper into that. It does sound like something that's gonna make the game stand out. Is it in the first one too? Is the Affinity System in Dragon's Dogma, the original one that came out like a decade ago? Questions.